With the huge advancement of the FPV industry, and especially with the release of so many amazing pre-built, ready-to-fly FPV drones, nowadays it's easier than ever to start flying FPV and start this amazing hobby. However, there are a few mistakes that most beginners will do, and in today's video I will try to help you not repeat the same mistakes that I and many other people did when we started FPV for the first time. FPV is a very serious hobby and it requires a serious dedication, a lot of time, a lot of commitment if you want to progress and get better. One of the most important parts of entering this hobby in general is preparation. When you open up a website, now you're getting bombarded with all sorts of different offerings for different remotes, different goggles, different drones, whether it's pre-built or just parts for them. There are so many parts available, so many options, and the key here is to prepare yourself, to do your research in order to buy the right thing. Many people do the mistake to buy the most expensive stuff on the website thinking that it's the best, or just not doing their own research enough so they can be informed what's the best tool for their needs, because drones are just tools, and it really comes down to your personal needs for FPV. You need to figure out what type of drone you want to buy, what type of goggles you need, what type of remote would be great for you. There are so many different options nowadays. It's not like going to the store and buying a DJI drone, for example, which comes with everything you need. Here you have all sorts of different components that you are the one to decide which one to get. And that makes it fun, but it could be quite intimidating at first. That could be, overwhelming for some people who have absolutely zero idea on what's going on in this FPV hobby. What is the best type of research, you say? Of course, YouTube is the #1 recommendation. You can watch a lot of other creators' videos and reviews about specific gear when they talk about their pros and cons and figure out which one would be the best for you. Yes, it's not very exciting, it's a little bit boring at times, but you need to do this research before you buy the thing you are thinking about, because you might end up buying something else later down the line. And if you want to spare yourself from spending money for no reason, it's a good idea to do your research. The next mistake I see a lot of people do when they start with FPV is being overly confident. They think just because they've flown a Mavic or any other drone, they will be good to go. It's not a big deal. It's fine. I can do this. But that's really not the case. If it's the first time you're starting out with FPV, trust me, you need to invest some time and start on a simulator. You will save so much money. You will save yourself so much trouble from, wrecking your drone on the very first flight, because trust me, you will. If you have never flown FPV before and a friend gives you his or hers FPV drone and you want to try it out, I can guarantee that you will crash badly on your very first flight. So it's important to find a simulator that works well for you. There are a couple of simulators that I will list right now that will be good to start with, so you can practice there, and then only when you feel confident in the sim, after passing around 20 or 30 hours on the sim, you will be good to go on a real FPV drone. I still feel even 20 to 30 hours might not be enough. It really comes down to how good you are on the sim, because some people might spend over 100 hours on the sim and they can still not fly well in the FPV real world. But some people are really good in the sim and they only need like 5-10 hours to get the hang of it and start flying straight away in the real world. It really comes down to how good you are with the controller, how good you are with your reactions, how well you get accustomed to this new way of controlling a drone. So yeah, just make sure you spend a lot of time on the sim until you get the hang of it and you feel like you're confident. And a good way to feel confident is to use those maps that simulators come with for racing. And when you're good to go, you will know you are, because you will be confident going through those gates in the racing track, knowing damn well that you can go through every single gate and you can point the drone towards where you want it to go and it will go there. When you do that, you will know that you have good control over the drone and you can start with the real thing. When you start with the real thing, it's important to do your preparation before you get the drone in the air. Putting on your props the wrong way will result in the drone just doing a flip, random flip, when you start taking off with it and you try to power it on and you turn the throttle up, probably that's the number one reason why it's doing that. Make sure you check the motor direction without any props, make sure they're spinning the right way, and then put the props on and you should be good to go. Another mistake that I see a lot of people do is being overly cautious with firmware updates and always updating to the latest beta flight and adding new features and stuff like that. And by that, you sometimes end up completely ruining your drone, because with FPV, it's not like regular tech where you see a new firmware update and you rush to update it because you're going to get new features and it's going to get better and end up, fixing some bugs. With FPV, there is a saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And it's really the case when your drone is flying well, you should not touch it at all. Don't tweak it, don't try to pit tune it, don't try to change anything on it, because in many occasions, you might end up ruining it, and you need to reflash your firmware, you need to start from scratch, and you might just ruin the flight characteristics of this drone because the new version is not always better, especially when you have so many different components that need to talk to each other. Sometimes it just ruins everything. So yeah, this is my advice. If you're happy with how your drone is flying, don't touch it. Don't listen to other people telling you, hey, this new beta flight new feature is amazing, let's try it out, let's flash this new firmware. No, just leave it like this and enjoy the drone while you can. Another mistake that many people do, and I'm especially guilty of this, is charging all of your batteries and not using them. That's a big no-no in the FPV world. And let's say you have 5 batteries or even 10 batteries and you're getting ready for a big day of flying, you're going out with your friends to fly on an epic location, and you're preparing yourself to fly a lot, right? So obviously you will charge all of your batteries. But something happens and you end up only using 7 of them or 6 of them out of your 10. And 4 of them are left completely charged up with the full voltage, and you are getting back home with your full batteries and you toss them back on your drawer and you leave them like this. This is extremely bad for this LiPo batteries, and it's not something that I would recommend. The best thing you can do, and the thing that I would recommend you to do, is to find time, go to a place, even if it's just an empty field, and use those batteries so you can drain them to the safe voltage, which is 3.8 volts per cell. But if you can't do that, all of the chargers nowadays have this discharge function, which you can use to discharge your batteries to the safe voltage. Otherwise, they will just stay charged up at the maximum voltage, which is not only bad for the cells, but it's also very dangerous because that might be the cause for a fire accident or something else. And you don't want to burn down your house or your apartment, so make sure you don't end up with charged batteries in your backpack. That's extremely dangerous, and it's also shortening the lifespan of these batteries by a lot. So you'll need to go through batteries a lot quicker if you do that. The next mistake you can do is to not properly check your drone before you start flying. And by check, I mean to inspect it a little bit very quickly for like 1 to 2 minutes to make sure all the bolts, all the screws, everything is tight enough and nothing is broken or loose. All the cables are connected properly, because sometimes, especially with FPV, some small crashes or even some bigger ones might end up damaging your drone in a way that will make it not power on the next time you try to power it on. So make sure everything is tight, everything is fastened, everything is secure, all the cables are connected properly, because you don't want to go out there and be ready to fly it, especially if you're going on a commercial job. That is the worst, and you end up not being able to power on your drone. It's a big no-no, and I advise you to just take a few minutes to inspect your drone and prepare it for your next flight. Last mistake, or should I say the last tip I have for you, is to find some friends to fly with. I cannot stress how big this is in the world of FPV to fly with friends, because flying alone is, especially when it comes to FPV, flying alone is boring, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, and it's not ideal, especially because you are flying with goggles on, so you kind of lose your orientation when you're flying. It's always best to communicate with a person or a friend while you're flying, to talk about the flight, how things are going, to have a spotter, or or should I say end, to just share this whole thing, this whole experience with some friends. Some of the best friendships happen by sharing the same passion, and I think FPV is one of those things that many people are enjoying right now, so it's easy to find groups of people that do the same thing as you do, and maybe you can go on trips with them, you can find some new locations, and you can share the experience with them, and that will help you enjoy this whole flying thing a lot more. That's pretty much it for today's video. If you have enjoyed it, you already know what to do. Blow up the like button, subscribe for more videos like this one, and don't forget to ask me anything you want regarding FPV down in the comment section below. I would love to help you out if I can. This is Mike from Drone Supremacy. Take care everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.